Sorry. All right.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the 645. It has been a fat flipping minute. I gotta watch how my potty mouth. We got a better screen. We got a better layout. We got better everything. You can actually see Aaron. You can actually see his beautiful face. We got him
Hey,
all
how
set
are you?
up and ready to go. This is the 645 show. It is 645 somewhere. Aaron is the 6. Derek is the 45. Yeah. Drink responsibly. I don't know what you're drinking, but drink responsibly. Um, yeah, it's been a while, man. It's been a while,
It's
huh?
been too long, man.
Too long. January 19th, to be exact. That was the last time we had any type of episode. Um, we took a break. Long story short, Aaron will talk about his reasoning on why we needed to take a break. I'll talk about my stuff. Long story short, I was just getting geared up with the NASCAR league that I'm in. On top of that, work was very, very stressful. And I just wanted to get home and do absolutely nothing. And then just recently, about 2 weeks ago, I gave myself a concussion. So, and I'm still kind of battling it, but we're slowly getting better, slowly getting better. I think today was actually the first day where I'm like, oh my god, I don't feel as I don't feel as flipped up as possible. So, but yeah, but that's my side. Aaron, where you been?
Just been busy with the free agent grind, the work and training grind. We were very close to signing a professional contract. We actually were the ones that turned it down, which is a good position to be in a weird way. This wasn't the right fit for us. I think there's more on the table for me in my football career than where this offer was too, but I'm not going to mention any things. But yeah, we were very close in our training, and we got a call at like one of them. We had text at 1 in the morning, and then we had a call from this team from Derek's home state of Kansas at like 7 in the morning. And I had to be there by yesterday, so you can clearly tell that I did not go. More offers are going to come, more things are going to happen. This wasn't the right fit, but yeah, just been training and had a tough time balancing a lot of things. With the NASCAR season coming up, it was hard to transition fully to give all my Sunday uh as much as I wanted to NASCAR and to 645 show, but we're here now. We are here to go. We're working on having this be live streamed. YouTube is being funky tonight with live streaming, but we're looking forward to streaming at 6:45 Central Time on Sundays. That is our goal to where you guys can tune in post race, or even if the race is going on, you can see a live reaction and leading into a post race show because if a show comes out on Wednesday or Thursday about the previous Sunday, it kind of loses it
It's
loses its
stale.
weight or its gusto. So at the very latest, we're gonna shoot for Mondays, and ideally situation we're gonna look for 6:45 Central to discuss the race while it's fresh in our minds. That being said, what do you say?
Yeah. As we took this kind of like hiatus break, myself and Aaron actually has the past couple weeks, especially with my concussion, I've been just kind of like focusing on trying to get my head straight and my brain correct and everything. And you're the one who's been bringing up all these ideas, and I'm like, I'm all game. Like, I want this to be as successful as you want it to be successful. And we got some great things. I worked very hard on the graphics that you guys see, the videos that you'll see. If you don't already follow us on Instagram. We'll have a Twitter here in a couple days, and we'll be posting on there. But yeah, like he said, every Sunday we're gonna be trying to do a live stream. even if the race goes into overtime or the race goes into where it's going to bleed into our live stream, we'll actually have a live reaction of how we feel of the race, and so on and so forth. And we'll give you guys our honest opinion, our honest thoughts about the racing. And then, yeah, I mean, and then we'll talk about our sim stuff. Aaron did some amazing stuff over the couple weeks we've been off. I haven't really been doing iRacing officials as much. I've been just kind of focusing on my league that I'm in, and just trying to make sure that I don't overstimulate my brain much that I need to, and just focusing on racing. So the racing the league. But once we get back to 100%, we're full game. We're gonna try to be like Aaron, so, and go from there. So we missed, gosh, how many races? We missed 4 races now.
Yeah, but it's been the same winner for 3 out of the 4. So, you
True,
know,
true.
we didn't miss a lot. But let's start with the 500s. Let's do a quick recap of what we missed. That way we can catch up. Quick thoughts on the 500. What do you think?
I mean, we already talked about it. It was the slot car 500.
Yep.
With these cars, how the aerodynamics are, how everything was, you couldn't pass. Once you got in the lead, you were up there unless your lane was losing cars and all the cars were going to a different lane. And it seemed like, and I'm sure we'll touch more on this when we get to more plate tracks. It seemed like guys were going not 100% to save fuel, and then once they were able to reach whatever goal it was, rather if it was the end of the stage or end of the race, it was all game, get out of my way or I'll wreck you.
Yeah, and it's just people have said it before. We're late to the party on this podcast, but we want to have our sentiment known, being that we agree with everybody saying that that's crappy plate track racing. Nobody wants it. Not even the fans, like they want to appeal to this. I believe it's like a dead theory. Like, they want to appeal to this casual viewer. Oh, who's at home on a Sunday? Who's flipping through the channels? That doesn't exist anymore. Like I think that's, like that's a theory that is not true. Maybe 15 years ago when there still was cable networks, but no one's flipping through Spectrum. That doesn't exist anymore. There's so many things asking for people's time nowadays, even if you are a race fan or even if you're not, which we seem to try to appeal to the ones that aren't NASCAR fans. It's hard to do that. You have TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, other sports, YouTube, anything at all to direct you from your time. The only way you'll get into NASCAR is if you have a driver. I've tried to get my friends into this, as I'm sure you have. It's very hard to get friends to come over to NASCAR because you have to have a good reason for it. You can't just flip through the channels. Back in the day, the reason being the guys were driving their balls off, really high horsepower cars, hard to control. It looked like anybody was going to die at any given second. Travis Pastrana mentions that about dirt bike riding, where he goes, you watch this. If I hear you mention somebody's name who was a very clean dirt bike rider, the guy could do a crazy trick, but he would look so clean it wouldn't look death defying, so he wouldn't get as big of a reaction. But Travis Pastrana does the same trick, but it looks like he could die at any second, and there's an appeal to that. People are figuring out, especially when Larry McReynolds, especially when the booth tells you about their running half throttle. They could do this all day with their eyes closed, not a big deal. So there goes the illusion, any illusion you had of this being three wide racing. Oh my goodness gracious. Also, Fox, if you're listening, loosen your camera screws on the damn backstretch, because when cameras are going by, it's so rock steady. It looks like the cars are going slow. I miss when the cars would go by and the cameras would shake. It gave the illusion they were hauling balls. Screw them is a little bit less tight next time. But I've been very passionate about this thing because Daytona is my home track. I think it should require skill. Watching the Daytona 500 on iRacing in 2013 with a guy named Rutgers Kevin O'Keefe, no longer makes videos, but at the time he was making weekly NIS videos. I had no idea what the NIS was. I got involved watching the full-length Daytona 500. I was like watching the strategies. Cars were getting tight. How do you manage runs? All these things, and that hooked me into it. I had never really watched NASCAR before then. So seeing that it's the slot car 500 and there is no skill required at all. I don't want to hear anybody say there's skill required. in plate track racing. It's the same as if you're right a horse race and there was landmines sprinkled throughout the field and you happen just to not hit one. Oh, he's amazing. He's a great landmine dodger. It's like William Byron did nothing. I think Denny Hamlin said it best. We're lucky that BJ McLeod wasn't in that spot, or we're lucky that a Parker Retzlaff isn't in that spot to where he's part new 500 winner, and then it really shows how little skill there was. But the fact that it's William Byron going two in a row, oh wow, it requires some kind of something. The dead fan, casual fan does not exist. That is a dead theory. There's no one flipping to the channel looking to find anything on at all. Oh wow, it works when you have five channels. Okay, so the way NASCAR needs to appeal, and we're going to talk about this when it comes to Talladega and when it comes to Daytona again, but the way to appeal to NASCAR and to grow the audience is by word of mouth. Make your sport so kick ass to your loyal fan base that that loyal fan base has no other option besides going and telling their friends that aren't in racing, dude, you gotta watch it. This is the coolest shit of all time. Come with me to a race. Come with me and hang out on a Sunday. Doesn't exist. It's just you have to grow your fan base because right now you and me are diehard NASCAR fans, and you and me fight falling asleep on a Sunday afternoon. You know what I mean? That is the reality of it. You have to have cars that handle differently. I appreciate the different tire compounds that kept a lot of cars in the mix that otherwise wouldn't have been. But the underbody aero and the drag these things put off, you can't race them worth a crap really freaking anywhere. Not even in a track that goes wide the frick open. My rant's about over. But I know Fox has the numbers and oh, this is the highest watched 500 or this or this or that. However, they want to look at these crappy metrics, I can tell you right now that they're not attracting any new eyes. And the eyes are trying to attract from F1 and the things they're trying to do. Those guys are on TikTok. They're not even looking at the damn NASCAR Cup Series. You don't have any practice on Friday, Saturday, which means there's less a chance to draw in that flipping through the channel. There's nothing freaking on guy. Oh, I watched a practice Harrison Burton wreck. He's in a backup car, and then on Sunday, oh, there's NASCAR. I see what Harrison Burton's doing. I saw he had a backup car. Like, people can kind of make those connections. I know that was bridging the gap pretty hard for somebody, but like that does exist more than a Sunday afternoon guy with nothing else to do because people will find something else to do. Rant over. What are your thoughts? I've been wanting to get that off my chest for 4 weeks now. I've sent you many a voicemail. I've sent you many a text, but plate track racing is near and dear to my heart. It should require skill. It shouldn't reward luck. It shouldn't reward fuel saving. If we need to have the stages not be the end, but just you drive through them, and there was the imaginary stage break. You just drive through it. Incentivize people to
Like
burn gas. I don't know,
like the old
but yeah,
road courses, what they did. Yes, yeah.
exactly, exactly right. I think that would be a step in the right direction. Somehow, crew chiefs will figure out a way to make that work, and everyone will be on the same page with flooring it until God's fucking hand comes down and does something. So, um, anyway, what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, yeah, I agree with you. I don't listen to the broadcast anymore. Even when it wasn't Fox, even when Dale Jr. was in it, I try my best to mute it as much as I could to go back on to like trying to get like your friends or family to watch it. When growing up, I was always in and out of it. Mom was bigger fan than I ever was. She watched it religiously. We would go to whenever they went to the Kansas Speedway, we go and see practice and maybe see like maybe 15 laps of ARCA, and then we would leave. But in 2014, Dale Jr. said that if he won the Daytona 500, he would get a Twitter. I said the same thing. If he won the Daytona 500, I would root for him until he retired. He retired 3 years later, unfortunately, and it was hard for me. It was hard for me to kind of like that was the reason why I watched it was because I wanted to see Junior win. I wanted to see how successful he was going to be, and I kind of fell out of it. I was a Truex fan for a little bit. I was a Kyle Busch fan for a little bit. And I just was like, there's nobody that I would want to root for. And then iRacing got me back into it. You got me back into it. I sat and watched the Talladega race last year, and I was like, I don't have a driver. I need a driver. I need some reason for me to watch it. I can't just be like, oh, I'm just gonna watch it to watch it. You need a driver, and I did a little bit of research on Tyler Reddick. He He's only a couple weeks older than me. He came from the dirt series and everything, and I have family that did the dirt stuff, like local dirt stuff, and then he came from the Junior Motorsports, which is Dale Jr.'s team. Came from that, and he drove the 8, which was the Dale Jr. number, and now he's driving for Michael Jordan. And I'm a big Chicago fan. I love everything about Chicago besides the White Sox. So knowing that he drives for Michael Jordan, which is pretty badass. His favorite band, Slipknot, Slip
And one of your sponsors?
Slipknot, and Joshua Everett's is a mask maker who made me. I'm trying to get this camera. Concussion doesn't really help. Made me this mask. Was actually made for a music video for Corey Taylor. He makes masks for Slipknot. So I got to, and not to mention, I have a friend that works for 2311. Shout out to Dontre. So it's gotten me back into it, and I know for a fact now when Tyler Reddick retires, I already have my next person that I'm going to start rooting for, Connor Zelich, who has been phenomenal. But yeah, I agree with you. Like they need. Mike Joy has been broadcasting for 10 years too many. He is very boring. They can't get the chemistry of three guys in the same booth, as well as Dale Jr., Steve Letarte, and Jeff Burton. If I had to pick, I would pick those three. Forget whatever his name is, Rick Allen. Okay, I do not like Rick Allen. He's like the Joe Buck of NASCAR, in my opinion.
Yeah, he kind of is.
He sucks. But yeah, I mean, I'm very excited to see how Prime is and TNT is, to listen to Junior and listen to Steve Letarte, because it makes it more. Obviously, people are going to tune in because it's Junior. Like anytime they're like, "Oh, Dale Junior's broadcasting it," you're going to get views. However, people like you and I who are somewhat educated enough on how these cars work and everything, it's nice to hear another voice of, this is the car, this is how it's driving, this is the reason why it's driving, this is how you need to change it, this is the strategy. Kevin Harvick, yeah, he drove this next gen car. He is so plain.
Yeah.
There's no chemistry. There's no excitement, like you said. Fake it till you make it. That's the
Yeah.
way. Fake it till you
And
make it.
and 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 I'll take it from here for just a split second. Going back to when you look at the NASCAR viewership and this is the most highest rated race of all time. Uh, what you're forgetting, right, is you're not attracting people that are just otherwise not ever going to see it. That's not what we're attracting. You're attracting the guys that did watch NASCAR back in the day that go, well, hey, the 500's on. I always used to watch NASCAR. I'll see what's going on in the 500 this year. You're bringing the old NASCAR fan who gave this up full time, that doesn't watch it every Sunday, that comes back every 500, like the Kentucky Derby. People don't watch horse racing year round like what they used to do back when not a whole lot was on. It's like, hey, Kentucky Derby's on. Oh, hey, the Daytona 500's on. And that's where you get your extra 2 million of views or whatever, from 6 to 8 million, however, whatever the numbers are, they have it. But anyway, and then the second part with the booth, it's like, man, you saw, it's like thing about NASCAR is great because you go to the same tracks over and over again, so you can have direct comparison. We had a direct comparison of Mike Joy, which he's a legend, but he rode with the Dale Earnhardts, and he was there when there was 200,000 people, 500,000 people at Daytona between there and the infield for flashbulbs going off for the 500. He lived that. He felt that. Then he went. It died off, and then it's like trying to come back, but he lived the heyday. He had his prime with it. My thing is you had a direct comparison of Lee Diffie last year in his first Cup race when Harrison Burton got the shove. Harrison Burton got the shove from Parker Retzlaff, and Jeff, your little boy, has done it. Like one of the coolest things ever. Me and my Australian friend that I played Murray State with, we talk about Australian commentators and British commentators all the time, how they can announce water dripping down your fucking windshield, and it would be exciting. You can make things exciting that otherwise aren't by just having a passion in your voice. Mike Joy's lost it. Kevin Harvick sounds like he's just very just, unimpressed with anything and just, I know it's reality. I know he can't polish a turd with what's on the on track product, but have a little change in your tone. Clint Boyer tries to be the fun, oh, that thing, is driving great, whatever, slide job kind of guy. That kind of clashes like oil and water with a Harvick personality. It just, it's like being the funny guy at a group of adults that don't take anything funny. And it just kind of doesn't hit. That's just splitting hairs, but yeah,
I
that
think
Daytona 500 was kind of hard to be a NASCAR fan for, I believe.
I think the last time I enjoyed, and I didn't even watch the race, but I think the last time I enjoyed a Fox broadcast was the Coda race where Tyler Reddick won and Kyle Busch was in the booth, because you got
Hmm.
the emotion, you got like he retired, he didn't want to retire, he gave up the car, he gave up the team. Tyler Reddick wins the first time he's in that car, was at Coda, and it's just it that is the type of motion I want to see. That's what I want. Like, damn, that sucks, but he's passing the torch. Moving on, Atlanta, I think was a way better race than Daytona. I think it's because
I
the
agree.
track is aging. Christopher Bell wins, controversy because of the caution. They are being very inconsistent on cautions. They're calling cautions. They're not calling cautions. They are. They're not. They're waiting a little too late. They're calling it way too early. Um, but then you go, the biggest headline, not Christopher Bell winning, was uh I can't think of his name right now. Who drives the 77?
Was it
Um,
Hocevar?
Hocevar. Thank you, Carson Hocevar.
I've I raced with him probably about 8 to 10 times.
Douchebag.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Not you. He's a douchebag. Um, I
At least he
I've
doesn't wreck me like Raja Karuf.
I rather get wrecked by Raja than have to deal with the guy not signing autographs for kids and wanting to talk to girls. But anyway, um, so he goes and wrecks Blaney. I mean, plain and simple, he wrecks him. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He wrecks him. And then he's just very aggressive, and going back to the Truck Series a couple of years ago where he intentionally wrecked. I can't remember who it was, but he intentionally wrecked somebody. He has that mentality of like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to win, which is fine. I mean, Tony Stewart once said that I will wreck my own grandma to win a championship. So, but there come, especially with these cars. I mean, you can't you can't wreck somebody because, I mean, you could take somebody's career, you could take somebody's life. Like, these cars are so stiff, so um, brutal on the body. I mean, we saw it with Ryan Preece. He flipped at Daytona the week before, and the wreck didn't seem as bad as he did in 2022, 2023, where he had two black eyes the next week. But he said it was the worst because of how he landed and everything. These cars are so stiff, and Carson doing Carson things is not the way to go. And I hope he cleans it up before he hurts somebody seriously and takes somebody's career or even life.
Yeah, I agree. Like just with the rigid like crumple zones that they had to recreate in the frame and chassis of the car, people are saying that hitting the wall, 5, 6, 7 years ago, that wouldn't be terrible. Yeah, they'd be fine. Fenders would be destroyed. Safe Barrier do its job. These cars, like you said, are so stiff. When you take any impact to the sides of any kind, or when you land really hard off of the banking onto the apron, um, just very jarring. You can almost imagine yourself as like in a roller coaster that's not on smooth rails, but being thrown and slammed around. And that just can't feel good. And like you said, just you were talking about Kurt Busch, another one of these guys, Casey Kane, another one of these guys that had to end it early. And dang well they still want to drive, but when they have those talks with their doctors that are like, yeah, you could sneeze and you could have another concussion, or if you have one more concussion, you could have some really bad side effect. Um, so it just kind of sucks. Racing will never be 100% safe, but you can make whoever designed this car. We've talked about it before. It was just not a NASCAR person. They did not consult they did not consult NASCAR drivers or teams or former drivers. They must take it into their own hands with some R&D department trying to modernize the sport, trying to single lug with the underbody aero and high drag and reducing. It's like, man, like what made NASCAR great was overbody aero, being able to skew a car out and having to drive your balls off to make lap time, save tire, and not die.
Well,
And now the cars are stiff, slow. They're in a pack, and once you're in a pack and everyone's together, three by three, once one of you goes, all of you goes. And you go back 10 years ago, you'd have cars that wouldn't handle great. There wouldn't be three by three because you couldn't do it. You physically couldn't. Somebody would mess up. You'd have to be strung out. And there's a point where, yeah, in the mid part of the race, people just rip the top. We get it, right? We understand how it goes. But I'd rather that than fuel saving at 50% throttle. If you're saving and you're in the top line, 8 cars back, and you're on 70% throttle, I'd rather that.
I
Um,
mean, you go
anyway,
back to what you were saying. I mean, the Kurt Busch. I mean, these cars are so stiff. Kurt Busch literally just spun and backed it into the wall. Didn't even look that bad, but he had a severe concussion that the doctors were like, "Hey, like you can't race ever again." And it like looking back at it, I'm like that it didn't look bad. And
no, it didn't.
everybody that has seen it is like, I don't understand how he got a concussion from that and how he can never race again because of this wreck. Dale Earnhardt flipped into the catch fence at Daytona or Talladega and broke his collarbone and raced the next week. Like, why can't we just get these cars right? Why can't we get these cars like uh, I mean, coming from a guy that's concussed right now, I rather have a broken collarbone than what I'm going through right now. Like these lights suck. Staring at this is why I'm like staring like offset and just trying to stay away from staring at my computer because of how like it just makes my head feel. But it's just like, why can't we get these cars right, man? Like concussions are not fun. I know older people are gonna be like, "Oh, it's just a headache, suck it up." Like I've had so many concussions, like too many that I've lost count, and it's I hope that NASCAR gets it fixed soon, before somebody gets hurt seriously. But Carson goes and he has a talk with Blaney. He had a talk with Ross. He had a couple other talks with people after that race, and then leads into Coda, turn one, lap one. Ross Chastain, after giving a talk to Hocevar, goes and dives bombs everybody and wrecks Chase Elliott and ruins almost everybody behind him's day. And it's just, why, like, Ross, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? You're
I
not like
know.
you're not gonna win it on lap one, turn one of a road course. So,
I know. Shout
overall,
out to Chase Elliott for bouncing back there. That could have been a rough day for Chase Elliott Nation. I think he rallied back for a top 10.
he finished fourth.
That's right. I was gonna
Yeah,
gamble and say fourth, but I wasn't sure. But
he
yeah,
finished
great job by
fourth,
him and his
and
team to
and
rebound from that.
Allen, his crew chief, was saying, "Oh, we're gonna wreck him," and the fact that Chase was like, "Well, did I do anything wrong? Was that my fault?" Just making sure that it wasn't his fault, the reason why he got spun, and he just wanted that clarification, and you know and stealing from Junior, his podcast, him saying that it made it more entertaining to see and hear what was going on with Chase and Ross, that when it came down to the closing laps, Chase got to Ross, and Ross moved out of the way. And he's like, I would like to see what Chase would have done if Ross didn't pull over, and I would have been the same way. I think that was more entertaining. But we got to the closing laps. Kyle Busch, who hasn't won in almost 2 years now, took a gamble, didn't take tires. Christopher Bell did, got a late caution. Kyle Busch was doing anything and everything to make sure that he got a win. Tires fall off. Christopher Bell passes him, and the last 10 laps was very intense. Tyler Reddick, William Byron, Kyle Busch, Christopher Bell were all underneath a blanket, and Christopher Bell goes back to back. We also had Austin Cindric turn the 10 or the 4, one of the two, I can't remember. He right hooked somebody, and the rule states if you right hook somebody, no matter what, it's a suspension, and then you lose all your playoff points until the playoffs. But I think I read into it, he didn't get penalized.
Yeah, and a lot of people were on the fence if that's a bad call. I think it was the 10 that he did that too. But
It was Ty Dillon.
yeah,
Yeah.
I it's that's a tough one where I'm not sure
A
if
right hook is a right hook.
a right hook is a right hook.
I don't care if
I
it's a road
agree.
course. I don't care if it's a short track. I don't care if it's a go kart track. A right hook is a right hook.
Right. I'm not disagreeing with that, but I'm disagreeing with I think NASCAR made their punishment too stiff, and that's why they redacted. They go, ugh, all the playoff like all your playoff points is like kind of a crazy pull, maybe a 50-point deduction or
Chase
whatever.
Briscoe was negative 67 points going to the second race.
Man, that's crazy. But to the point we just made, these cars are that dangerous that a funky bounce anywhere
And
can cause a fucking concussion.
in my opinion, a road course is actually more dangerous of getting right hooked than anywhere else.
Yeah, but there's argument for it. There's argument
There's
for any of it.
places like because I mean you listen to Brad Keselowski's in car and I listen to Tyler Reddick's in car. There's especially in at Coda there was parts where they had to spot them. The drivers had to spot themselves because the spotters couldn't see certain sections of the track. I don't
Yeah.
know. I can't remember where exactly it was that he got right hooked, but again, a right hook is a right hook. Like, it, if okay, if you were sitting here and he right hooked him and it wrecked like 15 cars behind him, would you say that the penalty was well deemed? Like he needed to be penalized for it.
Yeah, I would.
Okay, but
I am that wishy on it.
but are you saying because it didn't throw a yellow, it didn't wreck anybody, and it's a road course and he was right hooked, it doesn't deem to be penalized?
Um, I'm not saying it doesn't need to be penalized. I think it needs to be penalized for sure. But I don't know. I just wish you didn't do it. It's just one of those things where I wish we wouldn't have this conversation because now you have to think about like, okay, well then if there's a gray zone or a gray area, okay, well you can't right hook somebody into turn one at Indy, like a 90-degree corner. Like it's one of those things where, man, that's just
A right
that's
hook
tough. But here,
is a right hook.
I agree with you. Cause I agree with the point that these cars are super stiff. I agree that to the point that backing Kurt Busch backing his trunk into the wall gave him a career-ending injury. Like I am for that point, but my so I'm agreeing. But my next point is a little bit of a thing here is do you think that Team Penske is starting to become the new Hendrick? Do you think they're going to start to kind of get some favors go their way because they've been doing really well? They've won the championship the past couple years. They do really good stuff in IndyCar, which is,
No, and I think it's because of the IndyCar. I think it's that's that. Who who owns Auto Club?
who?
Roger Penske.
Really?
Yeah, he owns.
That
I'm
sucks. I didn't know that.
pretty sure he owns it. Like I would bet the $6.20 that is in my bank account right now that he owns it. Um, so yeah, I mean he owns Indy obviously, but I don't I don't ever seeing anybody overtaking Hendrick as the favorite.
Mm,
I
okay.
don't. And even when Hendrick dies, it's gonna be Jeff Gordon taking over that
Yeah.
business, and it's gonna be the same thing.
Yep.
He's and then when the time comes, Jeff Gordon dies. I'm pretty sure that either Jeff Gordon's kids are gonna be the owner of Hendrick Motorsports, or it's gonna be maybe even Kyle Larson who owns it,
Yeah.
and it's just gonna
Yeah.
be
It
a
just I don't
continuing
want it to
cycle.
be the beginning of a Penske getting it's all right.
I don't
It's
I
okay.
don't think so.
Yeah.
I
I
don't.
hope not.
That is a spot off in my opinion.
Spot off.
Shout out to
Okay,
Door
so that
Bumper
brings
Player.
us to the ending to Atlanta, which we talked about, and that brings us to Coda, which we talked about.
Which
Kyle Busch holding his.
yeah, I want to say one thing before we go into Phoenix. Hocevar had several interviews where he stated, "Hey, I screwed up. That's on me. Whatever." Ross Chastain talked to him, mentored him, told him what he screwed up with, said that it's going to stay between Hocevar and him. That's fine. Whatever. Goes and wrecks Chase Elliott and gets out of the car, and the first thing he's asked, "What do you think of the turn one? What happened? What do you what did you think?" Whatever the question was, and he says, "No comment." That is the most. I'm trying to make it as PG as possible, and it's very hard for me to. That is the most BS thing I can ever hear. Like, own up to it, man. Get out of that car and say, "Hey, I screwed up. I effed up. Whatever." It makes things easier. Like, oh, okay. Now like, the going into Phoenix, everybody was talking about, well, is he going to do it again? Like, why did he say no comment? You know, why couldn't he just say that he screwed up? So that was a continuous thing, and I'm pretty sure he was thinking the same thing. Like, man, like I should have just said something just to get it off of
Yeah.
social media.
He could have spun that into a cool moment. Like sometimes drivers have that ability to take an interview and say something and make you kind of almost a fan of theirs at the end of it. I forgot who did that, but there was somebody who screwed
Borsid.
up. Yeah, that Greg Biffle was the most. Yeah, yeah. Like I think Ross probably, for the sake of entertainment, probably should have said something. But he wrecked a Hendrick guy, which is they're kind of like there's an
Hendrick,
alliance there, so it's
no, remember he
not
wrecked.
anymore. Well, not anymore.
Yeah,
Not anymore.
Hendricks stated to him after he wrecked Larson at Gateway that he needs to watch how he drives,
Yeah.
and I think that was
Which
last year.
which not for nothing. That sounds like such a cool video game. Like the boss was mad at you, and it has a little text that pops up. You better cool it, man. Like it's just that's cool. That's a cool drama point. We're still talking about it. NASCAR needs more of those. Yeah, Ross should have like owned it with some kind of funny comment. I mean, the dude pulled off the Hail Melon. Like that is one of the coolest things ever. He should always have that cool like, it is what it is, man. I drove in too deep. I'm a bonehead. Sorry, I made a mistake, and unfortunately, it's ironic that I was the one who was bitching last week. But he could have turned that and said anything and make you been like, yeah, I guess you're human. It does suck that it was after you said something. So
I don't like Chase Elliott. I've stayed away from Chase Elliott people. If Ross Chastain came out and said, "Oh, I just want to wreck him," I don't even like Ross Chastain. I root for Ross Chastain.
I have a Ross Chastain hat. I'm dying to put on.
I'm okay with that. Other than the Kevin Harvick hat, the Kevin Harvick hat.
That
That's the reason why your camera. I had to buy you a new camera.
this beautiful camera, you can see Connor's bubbles. You
It's
can
gonna
see.
blow up when you pull that Kevin Harvick hat out.
I know. I got a Kevin Harvick hat from a race friend, and I was talking with Derek off stream, I held the camera up. I was like, "Hey, look what my friend gave me!" And then the screen went grr, grr, and it became like green and like it froze up, and I was like, "Oh my fuck!" Um, so yeah, shout out to Derek for
I
giving us this awesome.
long story short, Kevin Harvick still owes me an autograph from 2017.
He probably owes a lot of people a lot of autographs.
I go to Lids across the street every single day, right across the street from Kansas Speedway, hoping that I can get an autograph by from Kevin Harvick. But anyway, we
He
go to
pulled the ninth green at 9, Gilmore.
he signed everybody and then told me to go across the street to get the diecast autograph. No, just take my Sharpie and just sign it. I'm right
Yeah,
here.
you're right here.
Exactly. Anyway, so we go to Phoenix. I'm gonna be completely honest. I wanted to get my I rating up, or not my I rating, my safety rating up, and I completely forgot about it. And then homeboy just got an Xbox, so as soon as I got my safety rating up to a 3.4, I ended up going and playing college football. So, and I completely forgot about the race until Aaron was like, "What'd you think about stage one?" I was like, "Boring." um, but I tuned in. I watched the rest of stage one up till you texted me. So I watched stage one, stage two, and the end of the race. Um, Not a lot of happened until the end of the state or end of the race. Was
Yeah,
that
tire
big?
option was cool.
Yeah,
I
that was
think
cool.
that is really cool. It simulates the old school. He has a long run setup or a short run setup. You can kind of play with that whole comers and goers thing, which is cool. I was appreciative for that. Priest and their guys had a pretty cool strategy towards the end. Once BK went out, I kind of shifted my eyes over to the 60 car and was watching what they were doing and just hearing them talk about the option tires and watching him fly through everybody early on was cool. And it seems like Goodyear is starting to figure it out finally, which is
They need a
a
softer
day
tire.
late. I mean, I know it's one of those things where like surely they know how to make one. It's just there's some political reason as to why they're not. I heard the reason being from last year that Goodyear reps don't want people to think that their tires don't last long. And it's oh those Goodyear tires that are always blown out. I'm not gonna put those on my car to drive to work. It's like you have to realize they're different. The racing tire is designed to do this. And I think
You're not
Larry
going
McReynolds and those guys,
170 miles an hour going to work.
I know, and I think Larry McReynolds and Mike Jordan, those guys would do a good enough job letting you know that NASCAR's bringing a softer compound. They'd probably mention it every 10 freaking minutes. So Goodyear, props to you for doing a good job making a softer tire. I know this next gen car was funky because it didn't have the horsepower and with the drag to really burn tires, as well as the underbody sucking into the ground. The right rear wouldn't really burn like it was supposed to. The right front would get hot, but it wouldn't fall off. Like everyone would still have the same fall off, which means it's just a conveyor belt. So with how the loads are and how this car has different loads than before and how you grind car tire into the ground and whole bunch of stuff, man. I know everyone got, jacked up over Bristol last year when the things were just courting at any given second, and the veterans that knew what they were doing. Oh crap! I used to drive 920 horsepower cars. I better tiptoe through the tulips. And then you see a guy like Chase Briscoe. It's like flooring it, right rear blows out, and it's like, okay, cool. And then it just didn't happen again. So yeah, shout out to Goodyear for the tire compound. That was an awesome talking point this weekend.
Oh yeah, I mean the ability to do yellows or reds were awesome. William Byron does a fantastic job and was basically up in the top five pretty much the entire race. And then towards the end, Christopher Bell shows up, starts doing his thing, and he ends up winning the race in overtime. One thing I wanted to talk about was for the third race, we've had the Clash, we've had the 500, we had Atlanta, we had Coda, and we had Phoenix. So 5 races. Three of these 5 races, we've seen somebody get into another driver and their wheels touch, and one pops a wheelie
Yeah, Ty Gibbs, the old
twice.
Ty Gibbs twice.
and then Chase Briscoe at Phoenix.
Yeah,
They have a
I've never
restart.
seen that before. I've never seen that before
Especially
this year.
especially with these next gens. These next gens have been out for 3 years now. This is the third year, and all of a sudden now we're seeing like these cars. They'll catch wheels or tires, and they'll pop up, and tear fenders up. And
Yeah,
um, again, scary thing because one wrong hit, somebody can break a back, somebody can have their head rattle awkwardly and get a concussion. I don't know how you stop that. I don't, unless you stick the fenders out a little bit more, so therefore the wheels can't touch each other.
yeah. I'm pretty sure next gen tires are wider than previous gen cars. I think width wise, like they have more width, so maybe shrinking them to be more narrow or building the fenders out.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's very, very weird. Yeah, but the lifting and slamming thing, like imagine you're just strapped to an elevator and the elevator shaft drops you and you hit the ground. Like
yeah.
that's kind of what I've heard this being described as, and it's like, yeah, that and you wonder why some of these guys, they wear those Invisalign mouthpieces, and you wonder why. Like, yeah, man, you could definitely shatter your piano keys out with some weird, next gen hit. I
Yeah.
just hate these cars as this show and podcast goes on and how our iRacing careers go on with this next gen car. You're going to hear me complain a lot about them. I was
Which we'll
telling
get
Derek, we
to.
mentioned,
We'll get to
well,
in later in the episode.
yeah,
Yeah.
we're gonna get it a little bit later, but watching, I'll just save it. I'll save my talking point for when we get to the car and get into iRacing and get into that half of the show.
Yeah, and this is one thing I wanted to bring up is that both me and Aaron are IS racers. He is a lot better than I am, um, and I think this is the reason why we wanted to do this. We wanted to share our opinions on NASCAR because it is a sport that we're very passionate about, but we also are iRacers where we have the ability to be like, this is what they're feeling. This is how the cars are. This is, X, Y, and Z. Now, granted, we're not in the actual physical car, we're in a simulator, but it's as close as you can get besides hopping into the real car. Um, so I think our show is very unique just because we're doing this on a weekly basis. We're watching the racing. We know what they're going through. I think nobody else like I don't think any other iRacer is doing what we're doing.
No, I think yeah, I can't think of anybody else that's bridging the gap from sim to NASCAR and connecting them. You'll hear a lot about people explaining what these cars are like, and you hear Larry McReynolds with the cutaway car try to tell you something, or you hear a driver complain. And I love when Denny Hamlin gives those little nuggets on Actions Detrimental of like, hey, NASCAR 101, here's what's happening when we're talking about this, and it's like, oh wow, okay, that's just something cool. I live for those little pieces. But I really respected iRacing way before last year. I've always viewed it as like as close as you can get apart from G-Force, but everything else is so damn close to how they laser scan tracks and the physics engine. It's really, really good. And then I watched the next gen race last year at Texas when I was doing Texas and NIS, and we were at that point in the NASCAR schedule, and I believe it was off turn four at the New Texas, whatever they want to call it. Coming off turn four, you'd have a bunch of wheel into it. There was a little pocket of a dip if you weren't on the bottom. If you were a car width off the bottom towards the middle, you would hit a dip and it would next gen snap out. Like it would never give you a warning. It would never buzz the right rear tire. It would never give you a symptom that the car was loose at all. You would have the wheel into it. All of a sudden, it would snap, and even if any millimeter of correction is enough to have the front snag around, arrow, underbody snap you. And then I saw that in iRacing, and then guess what happened? In qualifying and in the race, the real life cars were snapping off of turn three and four if you were in the middle groove. And I was like, wow. I mean, I feel like I have the ability to talk about this now because iRacing is so close. We do it so often. We watch as many videos as we can to study telemetry. we have a really good idea of what these cars are like, almost at a point where we just use our hands and feet. So we see a lot that goes on, and we'll touch on Catherine Legg later and some of the comments she made regarding this next gen car at Phoenix, which is a place we've raced this car a ton. Um, yeah, I love the fact that we're doing this, bridging iRacing into the NASCAR world is really cool.
Yeah, and one thing that I love about iRacing is paint schemes. So we have a little sponsor, not a little, non-typical designs. He is my sponsor as of right now. We're currently working with Mr. Aaron Baum to get some beautiful paint schemes. But yeah, non-typical design. Colton Loomis. I hit him up, thinking that he was going to shrug me off, like, whatever, loser. Like, I make real paint schemes, not your little fantasies. Um, but yeah, he is my main sponsor. I race one of those beautiful paint schemes right there, as you see on the screen. If you want to get a beautiful paint scheme, if you are an iRacer, no matter what it is, rather if it's custom, a replica, or just you wanted to put a unicorn on a Ford Mustang, Colton Loomis got you. So you can look him up, Non-Typical Designs or Colton Loomis on Trading Paints, or his Twitter is Non-Typical DS. So yeah, anything you want to say about Non-Typical Designs?
Yeah, shout out to Colton. Dude's an award-winning trading paints designer. He makes very clean work. Whenever Derek gets some work done, he always shows me the previews and hits me up and says, "Check this out. Look what Colton was able to make." And dude is super clean work. I'm looking forward to starting a relationship with him and having him sponsor me for this NASCAR season. Working on having that get finalized and worked on. And yeah, dude seems awesome. Did his great work. Hit him up. Non-typical designs.
Absolutely, we appreciate him jumping on board, and uh, huge shout out to him. So one thing you wanted to talk about was the provisionals, and I have so many hot takes about it. I do not agree with it. I will have you start it off, and then since you had a 20-minute rant to start the beginning of this show, I'll have my 20-minute rant of what I feel like with the provisionals and why I think it's the stupidest thing ever.
Alrighty, yeah, fair enough. Going back to the 500, Elio Castroneves getting it. Bizarre, very
Stupid.
bizarre.
Sorry.
Just it's crazy because there was guys that were NASCAR idols and champions that had to race their way in,
Jimmy Johnson,
and Jim and
Martin
racing
Truex
your way in is
Jr.,
cool. Yeah,
Justin
and
Allgaier.
who else? A couple others.
I have a concussion.
Yeah, going back to that, racing your way in is really cool if there isn't an exception already in place for somebody. Because then you just are kind of like, what the hell? Like, you know what I mean? Like if everyone's racing their way in, okay, great. Good old Saturday Night Fever. Let's but if there's one guy getting the provisional and you're all sitting here like, I'm Jimmy Johnson. I've spent every week of the last 25 years to this sport and you're making me have to race my way in. I'll do it, but like, really? And it's just, yeah, I'm not a fan going into Catherine Legg this past week. She could be a perfectly great racer in her own right. I'm not familiar with her work outside of this past race at Phoenix. The Cup cars are hard to drive. They don't react like a normal stock car probably should. A couple comments she made going to, she had so much wheel into it, and then it snaps around. And that's exactly what we were just talking about at Texas in the next gen car. You can feel that in the same situation on the iRacing. Once you there's a certain degree of steering angle when you hit the gas that it will just be 1 degree too much, and that right rear will buzz around. Side force is all gone, and underbody is not sucking you to the ground. And there you go. So she spun out on lap 4, I believe. Tires coming up to temperature. All of a sudden, things are starting to get into a rhythm. Lull yourself into a rhythm. She spins around, no issue there. But then it's just funny enough how the broadcast had her on the screen and they were talking about her, Catherine Lang. She's going around and just unfortunate that that was the timing of when she got into her incident that collected Daniel Suarez, which is just I feel bad for him. I'm not even a Suarez guy, but it seems like he's a perfectly fine guy. It just has had this car this car opens the world of bad luck a lot more than previous cars have, in my opinion. But yeah, having her get a little tight, whatever happened, she washes up into that guy and spins around and collects Suarez. Not cool. I don't believe she should have had an exemption. I don't believe in it for anybody in the world, unless Jimmy Johnson or unless Jeff Gordon want to hop back in a car or somebody of that caliber or stature in the world of Cup racing. I think go for it because you said it on the voice message earlier today. What's preventing you or me from doing it? What's preventing you or me from calling up iRacing? Hey, we have the money to back it. We'll hit up Planet Fitness to get us in shape by the next Daytona 500. We'll partner with everybody. We'll do it right now. We go out there, we wreck half the field. Ryan Blaney has a broken neck. Like it's just one of those things where there has to be some kind of something. Test sessions, racing your way into the 500 as a prereq. Okay, cool. Like whatever. Make minimum speed on qualifying. We'll give you a chance in a duel. But to be in a big actual race for the first time, I think that's not cool. And I would love to hear your rant about it. But that's really all I got for the provisionals and the entries on my end.
I think it is the stupidest thing ever. NASCAR,
Let it rip.
NASCAR, you are taking the prestige of qualifying out of your own sport. The Daytona 500 is the great American race. Everybody tunes into it. You have celebrities left and right. It is the Super Bowl of NASCAR. We have said that. You've said that for 60, 70 years, however long Daytona 500 has been around. Taking the what would have happened if Mark Truex Jr., Jimmy Johnson, Justin Allgaier, who is driving for Junior Motorsports, they all three can't make it in, but yet you have this guy that has never raced a NASCAR race before come in and have a walk. Here you go. Just there you go. There you go. He had, I think he had practice at Indianapolis or somewhere. Okay, so flipping what? Like it is so hard for me to be PG right now. The fact that like Aaron said, I said earlier today, what is preventing me and Aaron to just contact whoever we need to contact and just show up and race? Like you look at the ARCA series at Daytona, they had I think 26 or 30 cars, something like that, and only 13 cars ended the race. 13. You have guys that have never raced ARCA before who barely passed the test. You have people that are just doing it to raise money for foundations. Cool. Okay, I get it. That is awesome. Good for you. Appreciate you doing whatever you're doing. You have YouTubers going in. You have influence going in. I'm surprised Logan Paul didn't hop in a car and go and race. Like, the fact that NASCAR is getting to the point where it's a joke. It is a joke. Literally. Travis Pastrana 2 years ago or last year had to qualify in the Daytona 500, and seeing his emotion of he qualified on speed, that's what I miss. That's what I live for. Of like, is this guy who doesn't race NASCAR going to make it into the Daytona 500? Oh, well, I guess might as well make it a 60 car race and have anybody. Jimmy Johnson's grandmother's going to race. Like it's a freaking joke. Like what are we doing? What are we doing?
Right. And I'm gonna piggyback off this for a second because I like where we're going with this. If you're gonna be the series that is open to you and me, that is open to Derek and Aaron, that is open to whoever,
Make it the lower series.
and make it the lower series, or open the fucking field back to 43 cars, and fuck the charter system, because that was the coolest thing. Was like 43 car field and 53 would show up. That was cool. Like that was a good time. You and me feel that when we go to leagues, we have to qualify your way in. It makes
I
people
had to
watch
do that
qualifying.
last week. I had to do that at Martinsville.
And it makes people watch qualifying. If you know your guy's going to be in the race, what does it matter? make it the lower series or something because that is not cool for the Cup Series. ARCA, cool. If you pass tests, I'd like to see you have some kind of late model experience, some kind of something.
I want to
But
call
man,
somebody and be like, "Hey, like when I heard Cletus. Now, granted, he is a racer. He has his own racetrack. He has his own racing series and everything. But I need to find somebody and call, be like, "Hey, I want to run the ARCA series at Daytona. What do I got to do?" And
right.
then as soon as I do that, then I'm gonna make a call. Hey, I just ran an ARCA series at Daytona. What do I got to do to run Talladega for at in the Cup Series? Because anybody can just walk in and race for free, not for free, but
Yeah.
eligible to just race. Like it's stupid, stupid.
I hate the charter system too. This won't be a charter system rant, but because the counter argument to the charter system was, well, what if one of our guys doesn't qualify for the race? And all these sponsors pay all this money, and all of a sudden King's
That's the
Hawaiian doesn't get in
risk.
the race.
That's the
Tough,
risk.
tough crap. If King's Hawaiian spends 2.5 mils to sponsor Brad's car or Denny's car, and Denny or Brad put in a crap setup and you miss it, I'm sorry. I'm sure they'll figure out a way to refund what they can. But to guarantee just because, oh, I'm Mr. Money Guy and I want to make sure my race car is in the race, and that's a dog and pony show to me. That is not grassroots racing. It's why one of the reasons I did like ARCA, letting people who were just racers come in, influence in certain things. I know there's like an OnlyFans chick that's in one of these racing things. No, 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 no. Cletus McFarland and the racing gods were hilarious at Daytona week. They gave Elio Castroneves the week from hell, and they made Cletus McFarland the greatest thing since sliced bread, atop of how already cool he was, because he's a true racer. He understands it. He partnered with Greg Biffle. They helped thousands of people in North Carolina. All the power to Cletus and those guys. But when you have an OnlyFans person hopping in there, and you have all these dumbasses hopping in, that is different, and that's where NASCAR just wants the money grab. Well, sure, you have $100,000 for us. Yeah, great, we'll do it. Not cool. I miss the old days where you wouldn't have guys like Alan Kulwicki nowadays, the guy who's an owner driver that's there tuning his own spark plugs, that's there changing his own camber. That those guys don't exist because of how NASCAR is, and they ruined what they had. It goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning. The true fans, such as you and I, we can't reach out and call our friends, dude, this is the coolest thing ever. This guy, Alan Kulwicki, he builds his own race cars, takes him 6 months, and he shows up and he wins against these million-dollar corporations. Coolest thing in the world. Doesn't happen anymore. Your thought?
No, I completely agree with you. That it is we're we're this close from going and hopping into an ARCA car and racing at Daytona, you know.
Yeah,
And I swear to God, if that happens for you, I better be your flipping spotter. Okay.
you will. And speaking of ARCA,
We're going to go ahead and transition to iRacing because we don't have anything else to talk about NASCAR. But go ahead. I know you're like this is your wet dream.
this is a little bit of a wet dream, and because of this past week, Derek has had a tough time with ARCA, and he's had a tough time in previous with ARCA. The old generation iRacing ARCA is what we're talking about.
Day one ARCA, by the way,
Day freaking one Archon
back from
iRacing
like
build.
2009.
Yes, and those of you who have done iRacing, I love the fact that our audience is iRacers as well. And there's always going to be an iRacing half or at least a segment, but I'd like to be closer to, at least a third of the show dedicated to iRacing. That those guys that are anything above 2.8, 2.93K iRacers in ARCA, unbeatable. Those guys are the nastiest drivers on the circuit because this car has been around for so long that the learning curve is so high. And I had to grind really hard this past week and figure out a lot of stuff and form a lot of neurons in my brain of what made that car go. Unfortunately, I learned the car too late because now they're switching it. But that's the good part. That's what's leading us into this awesome moment, which is ARCA is getting a rebuild on iRacing, and everyone is starting with a clean slate. It is even playing field for everybody. Derek, this is awesome because those cars don't have those pointy noses that'll jack your butt up into the freaking catch fence. You don't got to rely as much on skew and side force and slip angle and balancing on the right rear, but it's a crappy engine, so it doesn't really do it that well. Like all that's in the past. We are now in a new era to where we are all in the
Twisted
same playing
Sister.
field. The twisted sister body on the straightaways. Oh my gosh! If you're an ARCA guy, you felt this. You're on a straightaway or going into a corner, safer barrier pokes out. You think you're good. Bam! Right front catches the wall. Arco rebuild is going to be the coolest thing in a long time. I really hope they take their time with setup building there. I don't there because there was a learning curve to old Arca. You had to learn how to race around people, otherwise you would just wedge up somebody all the time. So there was a little bit of racecraft. I really hope that they take their time with the setups here and they make them loose. I want loose setups. I want people to think about what they're doing. I don't want people's only hope to pass to be a dive bomb, 20 laps into a run. I don't want that to be the case because you will have hell on earth there. These bodies and car styles look really good. They look awesome. I mean, they look badass. They look mean. Mustang, Chevys, Toyotas, they look really good.
I'm gonna cut you
Just
off
super
right there.
excited.
I'm gonna cut you off right there. I do
Go ahead.
apologize. I've been seeing so many people because NASCAR 25 is an iRacing thing. It is their console game, and people are looking at these ARCA cars and thinking it's the NASCAR 25 screenshots because they are the ARCA cars. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry to burst your bubble. There has been no screenshots of NASCAR 25 besides what they have shown you guys with the career mode. There is no ARCA screenshots yet for you guys. Sorry. That the screenshots, the videos that you have seen are for iRacing. It is not for NASCAR 25. It is iRacing. It is coming out tomorrow or next week. Something like that.
People are testing driving it early right now
As we speak. So
as we
and it
speak.
is 11:51 p.m. on March 10th. So that was driving me crazy. Like, oh my god, look, the console game's gonna be so freaking awesome, man. Like, look at
Yeah,
this. Oh, no, dude, spend the money, get a freaking PC. That's how you can do it. Okay.
right. 100%. Because I saw those same people too that were like, "Oh, bro, NASCAR 25 looks unreal." And it's like, I bet it's gonna be unreal, but this is an ARCA from iRacing shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, to wrap it up, super keen for the refresh. A lot of people, now that me and Derek have these concepts of racing we've talked about, I'm not going to share a ton over the podcast. I don't want to give too many trade secrets away for how to drive a race car because I've learned how to take a long time to learn these things as well as Derek has. I don't want to give these nuggets away for free too much. But there are some concepts we've learned with racing, with throttle input, with steering input, with just being smart and just being a well-rounded racer that I think are pretty much undeniable techniques no matter what car you're in. And then learning this the little intricacies of what makes this car great. Like, oh, you cannot be behind somebody's if you're behind somebody, at least get your left side exposed or get your right side exposed. Like you get some little intricacies of how to manipulate these cars, especially in dirty air. But I look forward to learning all that. We have plenty of time to learn all that. We're going to learn it week to week, just the same as everybody else. We are not going to be 15 years too late to the party. I just had my seventh year iRacing birthday on the 7th, so a few days ago. Anyway, I'm really looking forward to the ARCA cars and that because I want to race with my buddy Derek, but the previous ARCA builds were so hard to get into and required so much attention to detail and so much time. And some people just flat out don't like how they drove. So hopefully these drive a little more similar to like an Xfinity type of car. Maybe a hybrid between Xfinity and truck would be ideal, but as long as the setups are loose and you have to think about what you're doing, I'm here for it.
Yeah. I mean, me and Aaron got into it over the week. He wanted me to do the ARCA series, and I've told him numerous times that I don't enjoy the car. I don't enjoy how it drives. I'm the type of person, and Aaron can speak for me as well. I'm the type of person when I get off the corner, I want to be as close as I can get to the wall. Like I want not even like a thin piece of paper in between my car and the wall. And it's if you're new to racing, if you're new to ARCA or iRacing, I don't really know why you're tuning in, but I appreciate you guys. But just the closer you can get to the wall, the more air it takes off that side, and it makes you go faster. So, that's how I drive. That's how I drive the trucks. That's how I drive next gen. That's how I drive the Xfinity cars. Arca, with how the car was angled and slanted on the right side, it was so hard for me to figure out how to get off the corner and be able to get up to the wall how I want to and take that downforce off the right side of the car, so therefore I can go faster and get a good entry to the next corner. It was just so hard because I kept getting in the wall, and then it was just like there people complain about kids and people playing Call of Duty nonstop, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, no days off, no time off. That's how I feel with Arca. Like, I can go into 2.9 strength of field and get my butt whooped. Why? Like, I rather have some type. I rather have my some type of chance of gaining irating and get my butt whooped than going into a race and being like, well, I know I'm not going to gain any irating. I know I'm going to get my butt whooped. I'm probably going to finish 2 laps down because of how slow I am, no matter how much practice I put, just because everybody that has raced ARCA, if you are not below a 2.5 I rating, like I even did some racing, and I still got my butt whooped. But then again, I was never mind. But it just the fact that like everybody from 2.5 up has raced ARCA, has implemented whatever they needed to do, and it's not fun for me. I saw how Aaron was racing. I saw the competitive, and it was fun watching him. But I mean, I could put the amount of hours in that he was telling me to put in, and what I needed to do. I was not having fun. And my analogy was, he's a punter and kicker. The head coach comes in one day and says, "Hey, you're not a punter or kicker anymore. You're going to be a middle linebacker." I just that was my analogy. I didn't like that, and I like the trucks and I like the Xfinity cars, and now I'm going to be racing the Xfinity cars again, and I'm gonna have so much fun doing it. If he wants me to practice 4 hours one day, I'm going to practice 4 hours one day. I'm gonna have so much fun because I love the Xfinity cars.
Yeah, I mean, great points, man. And it goes back to what you and me were raised on, right? A lot of guys our age were raised on that 2013 and 2013 through 2017, 18 body style. And we grew to drive in NASCAR 14, NASCAR 15 inside line. Those games is where you and me learned our racecraft and learned kind of how NASCARs work. And the old Arca wasn't like any of those cars. Maybe modern Xfinity is the closest thing to what those cars back then felt like on the console games, which is kind of a rough idea of how a car should kind of feel around a racetrack. Um, and you and me never had any emotional ties to that body style. Some of those older guys that were 27, 28 years old back then when it came out just lived through the Bobby Labonte, Tony Stewart days of that body style, and they're, hell yeah, man, I love these things. I grew up on them, and with those cars racing every single hour, and you get twice as many ARCA races as you do any other race, and people realize that they don't want to wait 2 hours between races. So you get, old Joe, Billy Bob, who just watched Bobby Labonte and Tony Stewart in the Home Depot car hash it out for the last 10 years in a very similar body style. And guys just got really good at them and took a lot of pride in being good at those cars. And power to them, it's a different beast, but you and me were raised on that 2013, 2014, 2015, 2016 body style, probably more similar to the ARCA cars that are coming out. And if you wanted to relate it, probably more similar to modern Xfinity and iRacing.
Yeah, another thing I wanted to touch on is that because of the class it's a D class. So
Yes.
iRacing, if you're new to iRacing, you start out in the rookie class, then you go to D class, C class, B class, A class, and then world champion class or WC class, whatever that is. But rookie and D class doesn't have cautions. So you have people that will go and know that it's not a caution or a caution sanctioned series and go and wreck people. Like, or drive very aggressive because they know for a fact you're either going to wreck trying to hold him off, or you're going to just let him go because there's no cautions. So that was another thing that really frustrated me. Of like, there's no strategy to it besides trying to save your tire and be up front.
Yeah.
So that's
Yep.
that's what I like about the B class and C class, the Xfinity and the trucks, is because there are cautions of like, okay, do I take tires? I only get two sets. Do I take tires now, or do I just hope that there's another caution? So
Right.
it takes the
And
strategy out.
very true with it being the class that it's in is if you're not in one of those like top split ARCA races, you are going to be in a bit of a hodgepodge of guys that are 3.1 and then with 1.2. Like you're going to have a very wide skill gap. And the guys that are really good that know this, that'll farm this, all they do is grind hot laps in qualifying. They'll spend 2 hours running out there, running two, parking it, going out there, running two, parking it, because they know if I start up on the front, the first three guys, all the boneheads will be behind me. And since there isn't any cautions, I will never have to worry about them apart from lapping them. And the rich get richer in ARCA and the old ARCA cars, where if you were good there, you can exploit them and you would always be good there. And if you struggled, you would always struggle and finish eighth or beyond and be in that I'm gaining 7 or losing 16 kind of range. And um, I mean, you and me will eventually be just weapons in those new ARCA cars because I'm gonna make it my absolute passion to own those things because one, I love the body style. I think they look badass. Two, I love that they race every hour as somebody trying to go. I just hit 4K. As somebody going for a road to 5K, I want to be able to just get as many laps as I can, get as many race runs as I can, figure out how these races go, how the songs go in ARCA, because you would see a lot of the time it would be a cluster for 7 laps, then it would be strung out, and then it would cluster again once tires mattered. So figuring out, do I need to save in the mid run more or whatever it is. Um, I'm just so glad that everyone's going to be on the same page. Guys that are really good will still always be really good via car control and just inputs, but everybody else has a fresh chance to be good at these cars and gain irating.
Yeah, and the quick little story, like Sunday, I went and did some ARCA racing because I wanted to gain my safety rating, so therefore I can get to a B class. I had to get to a certain level of my safety rating, meaning like not getting in wrecks, not losing or not spitting out, not getting in the wall, nothing, not getting off the track. So you know the easy way for you to do that is to start in the back and just watch everybody wreck. I did 2 races where I didn't qualify, started in the back, let everybody pass me, and both times I was involved in a wreck. And it was very, very frustrating because I could be in exiting turn 2 and the wreck would be in turn 4, and I would be like slowly just getting up to the cars, and somebody would just, you know, be sitting there, spin it, and they'll barely clip my rear end, and I just go spinning, and like I'll get an 8x from it, and I'll lose safety rating, and I'm like, what's the point? And then I, I there was a couple times where I started from the pits, meaning that when the race starts, I am leaving pit road, and the wreck will happen. I'll come out of pit road, out of 2, the wreck will happen going into 3, and I will see it, and I would stop, and until everything clears up, because I just wanted to get my safety rating up, so therefore I can get my B class. Yes, I tanked, like absolutely lost so much I rating. I think I went from I went into this week with a 2.7 I rating, and I am down to a 2.2 I rating right now. I have lost 500 I rating, and that's fine. I know that sucks, but I'm going to be racing the B class now, the Xfinity series. What I want, what, and Aaron can throw in his 2 cents. I think that's my bread and butter. I think the B class for me, ever since I got to B class 2 years ago, I I've won so many races in the B class. I've won so many like poles, top fives. all my stuff has come from the Xfinity series, and I just really, really enjoy it. I know what I need to do. When me and Aaron go to a track, and he either if it's a fixed race or an open setup, I can tell him what the car's doing, what I want, because me and Aaron are two different. We have two different driving styles, but I can tell him exactly this is what the car's doing. This is how I'm driving it, and he'll tell me continue to drive how you're driving it, but you need to do this, and just like that, I'm back to square one where I'm like, okay, like fresh start. Here we go. Like it's just there's something about B class, like you and Arca. You love Arca. You die on that hill. I'm gonna die on the hill of B class. I wanna be in the Xfinity series. So, if Junior Motorsports or any any real life NASCAR team wants me to fill in for a race or two in the Xfinity series, absolutely. I think I'll be good enough. Finish in the top 20.
Just bitch about open exemptions being bad.
Well, if it's gonna
You've also had a
happen,
lot of
if it's
you've
gonna
also had a
happen,
lot of league success in the B car too. You've also done really well in leagues with the Xfinity car, which is
we'll get
cool.
to
I
that.
recommend anybody doing leagues to sharpen skills and any of that. But yeah, the Xfinity car is your thing. I'm excited now that the new Arca build is here and you can actually race around people and not worry about lifting someone off the ground or you being lifted. And now that you're back to B class, I'm excited to farm and I'm excited to practice because I know the strat now. It was like a working theory of okay, well if I just grind qualifying and learn how to qualify well, I should equal iRating. And Xfinity and the old Arca were kind of the only two that you kind of really grind qualifying. Like truck qualifying at any given track, P1 through 20 is within like a half a tenth. Like truck qualifying is there's nothing you can do. Like I don't understand,
This is
what we're
what you do.
missing. Yeah, just hold it as straight as
No,
humanly
no, you
possible.
get a bigger wheel, baby.
You
Like
get a
that.
bigger, yeah, that's
I
right.
have any track that I've gone to so far, ever since I got that bigger wheel in the truck series, I've qualified third or better. I have not qualified outside the top three, unless
Yeah.
I got loose and hit the wall or whatever. But if I completed 2 laps and actually tried 2 laps, I qualify third or better.
So yeah, it's like if you don't have a bigger wheel, you're kind of screwed in the truck series. Like
Don't get a
Xfinity, you
bigger
kind
wheel,
of
everybody. Don't get a bigger wheel. Yeah,
yeah.
it is better for you to have a smaller wheel with just more turn. Yeah,
Yep, it's better for being fast.
yeah, yeah. You want to go fast? Yeah, absolutely. But as you said, me and you are in a league. We're in Mystic Racing League. I'm not gonna go too much into the previously me and you were in. I left that. I don't like saying never because anything can happen, but I am 99.9% positive that A, they'll probably never let me back, and B, if they did let me back, I probably never race ever again in that organization. I joined Mystic, which you and I have raced with a couple people from either that other organization that won't ever let me back in or I won't ever go back. And then with Relentless Racing League, we've done, I think this was our 5th week. You only have done one just because of your work schedule. You did Phoenix. What I'll let you go first, just because you've only done one, and I think you've spotted maybe once or twice, but you've almost watched every single race or listened to every single race of mine. What do you think of the Mystic Racing League? Like honest opinion, because
Honest opinion,
you've thrown your 2 cents to the league officials. So
yeah, that the Phoenix race, I got hit with a lane violation or a choose
choose,
cone
yeah,
violation that really, if you guys watched the stream from that race, you guys would know because Derek was spotting me for that. NASCAR made a bad call, um, and I wish it didn't go that way. But in my experience with Mystic Racing, it's kind of hard for the sense that I enjoy the admins. I enjoy that they're. I'm gonna express my opinions based on a driver in the one race I was in, and then also what I've gathered and what I experienced from the professional side. I like the fact that there is race control and that they do try to keep things going along. Sometimes I think race control oversteps bounds a little bit. Maybe sometimes um, just does race control things that maybe us drivers don't really appreciate, don't really want to hear sometimes. But I appreciate the fact that there is multiple and the broadcast is good. It's hard to find both. Sometimes you find a league that the broadcaster is the race control and they miss a lot or miss anything, and iRacing cautions have to be used and a whole bunch of mess. So the fact that there is race control is very cool. The race I was in, it was like the second race of the year, so they were still working on some things with violations and all that. I got caught in the crossfire with some crap and got into some wrecks, but um, I've enjoyed it. I think it's been one of the better, well-rounded leagues that I've given my time to either race in or to watch. I've watched a lot of bad leagues. I've raced in a couple really bad leagues. We've been a part of dying leagues with 8 people showing up, and the broadcaster is just one of the boys, and it doesn't even seem like an official thing or anything's very worth your time. It just seems like friends hanging out, which is cool. But if you want to have a league and you want to people take the time out of their day to post on their stories, such as yourself, and you take a lot of pride in the leagues that you are in, it didn't it just didn't seem very professional. So I think Mystic Racing League has done a very good job of trying to always improve and done a good job of trying to tame drivers in it, and they put on a good broadcast. So I'm enjoying it. I haven't had any reason to really complain too much apart from the run race I did with the race control missed call incident that resulted in kind of a wasted evening because I qualified well and got caught up in just crap along the way. But the races that I've watched Derek or I've spotted or I've listened, I've enjoyed. I've enjoyed as a fan. I've enjoyed as a racer. I've enjoyed him as a friend. So what are your thoughts? Because you've done more than I've done. So what are your honest opinion of this?
Yeah, so this is like you said. I'm glad that there is race control, but I'm also glad that the officials that run the series and run the league, they're all on separate teams. There has, I think that separates them from other leagues and other organizations because the league that you and I came from, everybody is on the same team. All the admins, everybody's on the same team. So I'm not saying it's biased, but if something happens between that, how can you not be biased? How can you make it look
Right.
like you aren't biased? So everybody's on separate teams, and the league owner is actually a flagman for the Cars Tour. So
Wow, I didn't know that.
yeah, so Brandon is the flagman, one of the officials for the Cars Tour. So that's pretty cool, and I think that's where the realism comes in of like this. This is going to be. I have a feeling this is going to be a really good league and one of the best leagues moving forward. This is the first time that this league has ever been on iRacing. It's been on the NASCAR Heat console games, but now it's on iRacing. I do like the choose cone. I think they've gotten better with it because every driver's meeting, you'll get a picture of what is good and what is bad and where you need to be when you choose. Um, there's you know just like real NASCAR, officiating is going to be a hit or miss. Like we had a race for the Xfinity Series on Thursday, and we had a caution with like 8 laps to go in stage two, and they called the stage. I'm like, let us go. Like,
I remember hearing that.
I'm like, why are we calling the stage now? Like, the top five get stage points, which is bonus points basically for anybody that doesn't know how stages work. But top five get stage points, and I think I was like sitting like eighth. And I'm like, let us go. Like, we'll have
Yeah.
6 laps to go, 5 laps to go. So what? Like, if we have another caution, then sure. But let us go. I get it. It's a short track. It's Martinsville, but you can't call it 8 laps. We did 8 laps pacing. I'm like, man, like, I was right there to get stage points. Right there, man.
Yeah.
Um,
Like would have been nice to have been able to have raced for that.
yeah. So, but I mean, as far as like officiating and how racing has gone, besides like my personal racing stuff, I've had I have had fun. I could see why people enjoy it. Flip side, racer, putting on my racing cap on now, not the professional cap, the racing cap. This league sucks. I am in such a freaking slump. It is so bad. My best finish is third, and that was in the Daytona duels, which didn't even matter for me because I don't race Cup. Um, I think my best finish so far is like eighth or sixth or something like that. Um, and it's just like, man, I can't catch a break. We had a really good we could have won Phoenix in the truck series. But I got I got penalized because we came off of turn 2, I guess. I'm still trying to get used to the new layout of Phoenix. So we came off turn 2, me and Trey, and me and him were battling for a couple laps, and Aaron was actually spotting me for this, and we came off turn 2, and he was about a car and a half length off the wall than usual, and I thought he had more room, and I just barely nicked him and spun him around, and I got an EOL because of it, and put us in the back, and everybody just raced us really hard, and um, Auto Club for the Xfinity Series was my own fault. I got caught up with work. I didn't put any practice in. I was really excited about it because Aaron knows this. Auto Club and Old Atlanta with the Xfinity Series cars, I was really good. Like that's where I got most of my official wins, um, and I was really looking forward to it. I started like 19th or 21st or something like that, and within like 5 laps I was in the top 10. Um, so like I had really good strategy, and then I sped on pit road, and that's on me. Like I didn't put in the practice, I didn't put in the effort. Coda, I finished top 10. Um, I wrecked both Daytona and Atlanta. Um, but I'm just my luck. My luck needs to turn around because I'm losing my fucking mind. That's about it. But like I said, I enjoy it. Colton Loomis makes my paint schemes, and he does an amazing job. And um, it the broadcasting is amazing. You don't get Sleepy Joe, saying the same 5 lines, and you don't have somebody that doesn't know anything about NASCAR who is more of an IndyCar guy, broadcasting and making it about himself. Um, so you actually have guys that know what they're talking about, make it very professional, and it is just because I have a bad race, I still go and listen to every single broadcast, and they have 3 different broadcasters, 3 different broadcasting teams every single day. They on Wednesday I think it's like OSRN, and then Thursday they have V Speed, or no, Sim Racing Network, and then they have like Ballin' TV on Friday, and all 3 of them very professional. Like if you didn't know anything about the league and you just tuned in, you'd be like, "Oh my gosh, is this like an E Pro series?" Like it is so well put, so put together. It's amazing.
Yeah, the broadcast is really good. Um, really good production value, good voices in the booth, good personalities. I encourage anybody to join a league in iRacing. I really do. You can learn a lot without wagering SR or iRating. You can make good friends. You can just enjoy your time in a different fashion. Official racing can be kind of a toxic crabs in a bucket situation, where leagues are a lot more, they say just professional, longer laps, strategy comes into play, stages, which is cool, unlike officials. So I encourage anybody to look up, iRacing League, and there's 7 nights a week people are running leagues. So if you're off a certain night, you'll definitely be able to find something.
And it's not just
I
NASCAR. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah,
It's not just
no, no, yeah,
NASCAR.
go.
It's you know, you got dirt, you got sport cars, you got Indy, you got ISMA, you got F1, you got all these different cars and everything. Like this series or this league me and Aaron are in. They do IndyCar, they do trucks, Xfinity Cup, they do street stocks, they do dirt. And on top of that, then they have special events. Like I think at the end of the month, they have a special event. It's like $30 buy-in. The top five get like some type of money, and they have prizes and everything. But every league is different. So you can earn money or you can not earn money. It is fun if you find the right group. And I think I found the right group because if I was still in the other organization and I was having the same luck I was having, I probably already quit by now. Not because of just my racing sucks and I'm not finishing the way I want to finish. It's just the fact that it is not well put together as this league. I just the way I feel is it is like I'm racing a real life NASCAR. That's how I feel right now. I'm like, okay, like I feel like, a BJ McLeod right now. Well, not a BJ. I feel like a Daniel Suarez. I have the speed. I have the ability to go and win. I just have really poor luck. Like that is the best way to explain it right now.
And you can look in the real life standings too, and you see a guy like BK, former NASCAR champ, has speed, sitting second to last in points right now. The only guy worse than him who's a full-time charter is Ty Gibbs. So slumps come and go. I look forward to watching the Derek Jewett 2 hero arc, the remainder of this season, where he started getting some normal, more familiar racetracks for us.
Vegas.
Um,
Vegas is this week.
Vegas, yeah, and I'm gonna grind the ever loving out of you in the Xfinity car at Vegas. I'm gonna watch every input, and we're gonna make sure that you have a good qualifying, a good handle around that racetrack with this build and whatever the temperature throws at us.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
yeah, I look forward to getting out of this slump. It's gonna happen, right? Like the first handful of races this year, you know, it's you can try all you want, but still get caught in some crap or still have some bad luck. So I look
yeah.
forward to watching you. Go ahead, plug your channel, plug the nights you race.
Well, I wanted to add on, like, if you and Joshua Harris, or Harris Plex, for people that know him, you guys have always kind of just been there and like, hey man, like, that race wasn't your fault. The way it ended wasn't your fault. Like Atlanta, I got ran over like 5 laps ago. I was running P3. I made a move to try to take the lead, and the guy behind me thought I chopped him. I didn't chop him. I was a good solid car ahead of him, and he just ran me over in the corner. Like he Carson Hocevar me, like and I ended up not finishing the race because of that. You know, I've made enemies, and enemies or I've made enemies and other people have been my enemies as well, if that makes sense. I've had people hate me, and I've had I don't know. I don't know what I'm trying to say. But it's just a lot of stuff has been out of my control. And there has been stuff that has been in my control that I've done, and I'm like, dang, like speeding, that's on me. Wrecking Trey, that was on me. I think it was more of a racing incident, but it is what it is. But we're starting to get into the cookie cutters. I'm very excited about it. I'm hoping that I can start showing, because like Sim Racing Network (SRN), they'll run through the starting lineup and they'll get to me, Derek Jewett, driver the number 45, good looking paint scheme done by non-typical designs, has speed, but just can't find a break. that has been the vocal point every week. Them saying that I have the speed, and they'll get on me and like, Derek Jewett has the speed. Look at him, and then something will happen. I'm like, just don't show me. Don't show me. Like I joked and sent a message to one of the broadcasters like, don't show me. Don't talk about me. Don't do anything. So we'll see. But yeah, go follow Aaron on Twitch and Twitter, Aaron Bomb Racing. You can find me, Derek Jewett 2, on everything: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Twitch. Trying to think what else. MySpace, eBay, OnlyFans, Feet Finder,
Sniffer.com, underwear
Sniffer.
site.
Yeah. Yeah. But I'm looking forward to grinding with Aaron. I don't want to take too much of his time away from his stuff that's going on. And I, every day I'm very grateful that you push me to be a better driver and a better person. So, and it's nice to hear the amount of times this so far. Like it's only week 6, race number 6 for the season, and you and Harris have both said numerous times the old Derek would have crashed out. This Derek is way different. Like, you keep your composure. I'm like, I have no idea what the fuck you guys are talking about, because I still get pissed off. You go back and look at my article. I had to mute my mic. I was screaming. Oh man, I lost my voice at the end of the race because I sped. I was so mad at myself. I was like, God. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's been fun to watch the development. Like, yeah, like old you, if you would have had something happen, I've seen it happen where you would just go into a corner 800 yards past the breaking point and just get frustrated and have, issues and shoot yourself in the foot. So like just being able to mentally finish a race no matter what, and just being able to, even though I'm 17th, I'm just gonna hold it here because I know a DNF is worse. You've done a good job with that, and
Martinsville.
points are points. Points are points, man. Like at the end of the year, people are gonna be a couple points off, and you're gonna be able to look back and see, a moment in the season where you wish you would have had them points, or you're lucky that you did do what you did. Yeah, I look forward to watching your streams, and I look forward to grinding Vegas, because that is a track that you can control your own destiny. You can qualify well, you can drive away, and you can be several tenths in front of somebody, and and finish all stages up front, and finish the race, towards the front of the field.
Yeah. Well, I think that's gonna do it. Anything else on the
No, that's all
agenda?
it for me. Look forward to seeing you guys on Sunday.
Yeah. We'll do this Sunday. We'll actually have a live stream. Follow us on YouTube. This is where it's gonna go, and follow us on Apple product or Apple Podcasts, I think it's what it's called, or Apple Music, and then Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts. But yeah, I'm very excited. Check Aaron out. I think you're gonna be streaming this week, right, for the NIS.
Yeah, I'll be doing NIS, and maybe if I can figure out a way to test drive the ARCA car, I think I would like to do that. Maybe stream that. Maybe do that with you off stream. Not sure, but yeah, definitely get planning on doing the NIS.
Yeah, NIS. Follow him, Aaron Bomb Racing, on Twitch and on Twitter, and then Wednesday and Thursday, Truck Series Wednesday. Thursday is the Xfinity Series, Las Vegas for the Mystic Racing League. For me, Derek Jewett 2. Yeah, as always, take care of yourself, take care of others. We'll see you in the next one. Deuce.